Once again, we are at logical reasoning drill set number 1 at lawhub.lsac.org, and we're going to go straight to question number 6 this time. So, once again, we're going to select our highlighting tool almost immediately and go straight to what the question task is. And in this case, we're being asked the museum director's argument is most vulnerable to criticism on which of the following grounds. So I probably am just going to highlight most vulnerable to criticism, understanding that that is an indicator that we want to identify a flaw in the argument that is presented. So once again, we're going to keep that highlighting tool selected and seek to highlight only the conclusion from the museum director. So, reading from the top, our city's economy is heavily dependent on tourism. Well, that's just a fact, not a conclusion. Most of the tourists visiting our city go to the city art museum at some time during their stay. Okay, again, that's just a fact. We don't need to highlight that. Therefore, there's our indicator term. To protect the city's economy, the art museum must be maintained as an appealing tourist attraction. Now, you have to get all of this conclusion. So, we want to get everything, including that reason we want to maintain the art museum as an appealing tourist attraction, which is to protect the city's economy. And we want to, once again, try to mentally predict what a flaw might be here. So it says that most tourists visiting go to the City Art Museum, and that this is so important that it must be maintained as an appealing tourist attraction. So we're basically saying that without the art museum, they're not going to come at all when it comes to these tourists. So we've already kind of got a big flaw, which is that maybe the art museum isn't actually the big reason. They just kind of go secondarily. So we might look for something like that proactively. But of course, we're going to keep that highlight tool selected as well to identify reasons to eliminate as we go through the answer choices here next. So starting with choice A, it overlooks the possibility that tourists who visit the art museum also contribute to the city's economy in other ways. Well, I mean, they might contribute, but is that going to be enough to offset the loss that's implied here? So that other ways is ambiguous. How much they contribute, well, that's also kind of ambiguous. So a couple of reasons we can eliminate choice A with that eye icon based on the evaluation of it. So next, we've got choice B. It fails to adequately address the possibility that almost all the tourists who go to the art museum would visit the city even if the art museum were not an appealing tourist attraction. Well, this is kind of our prediction, and it's conspicuously specific. It says almost all the tourists. And once we identify that almost all the tourists who go to the art museum are still going to visit the city, we go, well, that seems like a pretty good match of the prediction that we had. So we'll probably proactively select B, and we can potentially go a little bit faster with our highlight tool. And you can see the highlight tool isn't always perfect, but B's got enough for me to say that matches. So looking at choice C, it fails to adequately address the possibility that the city's economy may not be protected even if the art museum is maintained as an appealing tourist attraction. Well, this is something that could happen, but it has nothing to do with this actual argument. So we highlight that may not even be protected and go, well, that's just a hypothetical. It doesn't really affect the argument as it stands. So we can eliminate choice C. Then we've got choice D. It takes for granted that apart from the museum, the art museum, there is no other tourist attraction in the city to which most tourists go. Well, no other tourist attraction. We're not considering other tourist attractions. We're saying specifically this art museum is integral to maintaining the city's economy. So we can highlight no other tourist attraction and eliminate choice D. And then lastly, choice E, it overlooks the possibility that a tourist visiting the city who does not go to the art museum contributes just as much to the city's economy, like exactly the same amount from a patron who doesn't go to that art museum. That doesn't have anything to do with the argument and its validity. So we can eliminate choice E, and we'd happily select choice B at this point. So remember, look for reasons to eliminate. Predict when you've got a predictable top 4 assumption flaw, strengthen, weaken, real life type scenario, and use that highlight tool to expedite your process of elimination to effectively evaluate flaw questions such as this one the next time you take the LSAT as a practice exam or your official test.